Hey everyone, welcome to the Redmen Originals Podcast with me, Paul Machin, alongside Chris Pajak, Chloe Bloxham and Dan Clubb. I'm going to level with you. I was hoping to give that more way, but I had a thought and I was about to ask our producer a question, and it occurred to me the moment, and we're live, and it was like, bollocks, I hadn't finished that thought or done anything about it. There's nothing I can do about it now, so I'm just going to have to roll with the punches and hope everything's fine. Much like following Liverpool in the back end of the season. We're going to be discussing Liverpool's 1-0 win over Leicester City, and we're also going to be discussing Trent Alexander-Arnold and the Virgil van Dijk contract extension. And again, I meant to speak to you guys before, and so what I will say is we will keep all Trent Alexander-Arnold contract and reaction chat until part 2. So you can talk about... We'll talk about his goal in due course and the feelings around it and all that kind of stuff, but we're going to do a bigger chat on him in part 2. Before we do, 2 things to draw your attention to. First and foremost, Chris and I, along with Steve Hoare, sat down to do a special video to celebrate our 15th anniversary on YouTube. We're marking this Wednesday as the 15th anniversary of Redmen on YouTube by sitting down and going through our most embarrassing moments in production.
Of which there are plenty.
Of which there are plenty, but there are a few absolute palers that we've pulled out for that one. So if you want to see some of the downs of the time producing this channel in all of that time when we were much younger men, then yeah, keep your eyes peeled on the YouTube channel on Wednesday morning for that.
There's a certain German midfielder in there.
No, because the footage no longer exists, does it?
Did you delete it?
Not soft. I'd love to. Anyway, yeah, it will be, that story will be explained and many more as well. If you want to see us live in person, come and see us. We're in Ireland this week as well, particularly Dublin on Wednesday and Cork on Friday. Tickets available on ticketmaster.ie. And the Red Weekend, there are still a couple of bits and pieces, but the broad shape of it now is out there in the world. If you haven't seen it already, head to the redweekend.com. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, taking over the exhibition centre. It does the wrap. It's boss night as well. But Saturday is our day. So yeah, head to the redweekend.com if you want to pick up tickets. We'll put a link in the description and all that stuff as well if you just want to click through and do that. But yeah, it is us. It is Kenny Dalglish. It is the Dalglish family, and it is Family Fortunes, hosted by none other than Les Dennis, the man who hosted it in the UK, basically through our childhoods, is coming back to do it. I'm told he's bringing the set.
Whatever that means.
I don't know.
Paul, we're doing the big money round.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means either.
Yeah, I mean, anyone who watched it will know what the big money round is. Whether we get to the big money round...
I'm getting to the big money round.
I would be stunned.
Kenny can sod off. I am here to win.
Yeah, I mean, I know that's the case. Anyone who wants to see what happens when Liverpool legend Kenny Dalglish goes up against the might,
the Pink Whisperer,
the will to win of Chris Pajak.
That's a deep cut. It's a deep cut, that.
That is a 15th anniversary deep cut, that. Yeah, we've also got music from the Zootons as well, which is just absolutely stunning. I think it's the 21st anniversary of their first album.
Actually, yeah, I did see that, yeah.
God, Who Killed the Zootons is like...
Some album.
That is tippity top.
We went to see them in one of the universities, didn't we?
Mountford Hall,
at one point, yeah.
Yeah. I think I said this, I paid 35 quid to a tout outside to watch them in 2006. And now that's basically minus booking fees, what we're charging to see them, plus us, the Dalglish family. There's meet and greets with Liverpool legends, the Ragamuffins, Harry Max DJing. Fill your boots. Anyway, yeah, come and see it. It's the Saturday before the end of the season. So yeah, if you're looking for something to do or you want to come and properly celebrate Liverpool winning the league, get yourselves to Liverpool. Get yourselves involved with the Red Weekend.
Yeah, as I keep saying, it's the biggest party in the best city in the world. Saturday 2 till 7, the Red Weekend there.
There you go. Couldn't have said it better. We have a couple of super chats which I'll catch up on in a moment. But let's dive into it. Leicester 0, Liverpool 1. Chloe Bloxham, you were there. The one thing I've seen throughout is everyone who was there seemed to have come away in the best possible mood.
Yeah, I have. Aside from the fact that both of my legs are absolutely completely done in, because there's nothing that stops you. At least like at other grounds, there's barriers or bars in front of you that stop you from toppling over. This, people just go flying. So I was very much using my knees to push up against the chairs that I didn't go arse over tit. But yeah, there's been some boss moments in away grounds. You know, Nunes so far this season against Brentford was a pretty special one. But that moment, even now, Liverpool could have came out of that losing, really, and Liverpool will still go on and win the league. But it's just the fact that, you know, with 10 minutes to go, you're looking for a winner just to set up for Sunday. And I think everyone was thinking about Sunday. And to get over the line in dramatic fashion is absolutely boss as well. And like you said there, moments like that are what create seasons. That's where your mind goes to. And to have another one of them and to have a lad, look, Mel had his moment this week. Virgil van Dijk had his moment this week. And hopefully... I can't say it, that's in part two.
Delving quickly.
That'll be part two. But he had his moments.
If I had a sweepstake, it would be the one. Like, it wasn't going to be you, Dan.
I didn't go through every other moment in the game, though, so...
It's an improvement.
It is an improvement.
Just the second half of the show. I love the fact that you... That was brilliant.
You shouldn't be saying it. Me and Chris look at each other going, is this it? Are we done it?
Fantastic.
It was always going to be me.
Yeah, listen, the end is the big talking point, but we'll get to that. Let's go from the top. I want to talk about some of the decision points in terms of the team selection and how that kind of pans out moving forward. Chris, one of the things we had a little conversation about before the match was the Tsimikas Robertson situation. Now, if we're talking about like certain players, and maybe Chiesa will get time to lament Chiesa's life.
That's all he's got, Paul, this time.
We've got less time than Chiesa.
Reflection time, I think it might be called. He's in the corner staring at a wall somewhere.
But if we're talking about footballers who aren't getting an opportunity because there's no need to rotate and give the full depth of your squad, it is quite interesting that Tsimikas has had the nod now 2 games on the bounce. I think where we fell on it yesterday before the game was if you push Robertson down the pecking order and bring in a new left back, then I think you've actually overall improved. But it does make you wonder whether the manager is having a look at that. I think it's clear that we're going to buy a left back in the summer, but it does make you wonder whether these last 5 games plus the 2 that have just gone, 7, fast mathematics, is what?
Fucking flying, what a start.
He's on fire.
Whether this is a little bit of a decision-making process for the manager for the summer.
It could be. Listen, I think Kostas' contract runs out at the end of next season, is it? And then Robbo's the season after?
I thought Robbo's in the end of next season, to be honest.
Is it? Yeah.
I think at the top of my head, I'm sure. I had a conversation.
Okay, so that's really interesting.
If only someone
That's
had
at
a
the top of my head,
laptop
I'm sure, there as well. Like,
yeah. I'm pretty positive. Like,
Okay, could someone check that for us? Because I think it is pertinent and stuff. But when it comes to them, like... For me, I've always sort of thought all season long that Robbo stays probably until the end of his contract and then just retires a Liverpool player or whatever, because he's had his legs run into the ground by Jurgen Klopp and now by Arne Slot. Tsimikas, I thought there might be some value in moving him on, where I think you get more money for Tsimikas because he's a little bit younger, go somewhere else, be a first choice left back for somebody. And Robbo could probably still do that, but might be at a bit of a lower tier. So you might not get as much money for him. And you could conceivably move into next season and have hopefully Kerkez or someone of that ilk as your number 1, Robertson is your number 2. But what you're saying also rings true, because if he's kind of having a look at them both, maybe he's just deciding which one he wants to keep around. Yeah. Dan, have you got the information?
Robertson's next year, Kostas the year after.
I got that the wrong way around. I knew they were different years.
Yeah. 26, 27.
Well done for fact-checking Chris's opinion.
So for 2 years, I just got it the wrong way around. For 2 years, if Kostas is there, that's a safer sort of bet, isn't it? It also means there's more value there for Kostas now, which was kind of my point, if Robertson's runs out at the end of next year. So I do think he's probably having a look at them both. I think we'd be a better squad for having Andy Robertson around because of the experience and because of that big game ability that he's got. He can still perform in big games. He just might not be able to perform twice a week 450 games or whatever it is.
I thought you just coined a wonderful new portmanteau there. Yeah, big game ability.
It's a nice thing.
Yeah. I like Darwin that said bounce back ability. I prefer yours though. It's much better.
But I think it's an interesting thing. I mean, and Chloe, Tsimikas was taking the corners, at times during the game yesterday. It's something Robertson has definitely done, but it is also another consideration there. Chris, right? Tsimikas has definitely got his legs still because he hasn't been overly used for us in recent years. But yeah, how do you strike that balance? Because I am firmly in the camp of what Andy Robertson brings as a leader and a voice in the dressing room and all that kind of stuff definitely adds to it. We see Tsimikas as being a bit of a character, but actually also he's not. He's actually quite a quiet fella as well, from what we're told. So how would you balance it out?
It's tough because Robbo, for me, is at the end of his career. Doesn't mean he still can't put in good games. It's just not consistently, and it might not be over 90 minutes. I think that's the area that we've looked at this season, and both of us. There was a part in the season where I was saying swap the left back every single game, and whoever came on as a substitution for the last 20 minutes produced brilliantly and then should have started the next game. But like you said there, they're both where I think Robbo's natural ability to whip a ball in open play is a lot better than Kostas's. Kostas over free kicks and corners. I mean, he gets the one for Virgil van Dijk in the Carabao Cup last year. So I think he's better over dead balls. And like you said there, he's got the legs. I think you do keep Robbo until the end of his career, until the end of his contract, because of the likes of the experience that he will bring you. I think you've harped on about it for years about Kostas should leave because he should be a first choice. He should want to be a first choice somewhere. And there are upgrades on both of those players. That's just how it is now. So I'd probably keep Robbo as your backup. Let Kostas go. Because like you said there, I reckon he can do a job for someone else and he surely wants to. Where Robbo, I think, even though he's got the desire, he'll be willing to maybe have a different approach and effect on the squad as a whole. But make sure that there's still competition there and Robbo can still put in the odd games where you look at him and think, oh my God, that is the Robbo that we seen from 5 years ago.
Yeah, I think Robertson still has that fire in his belly to want to push, whether it be Tsimikas for next year. I don't think it will be. I think it will be somebody new, whoever comes in over the summer. And I think that is exactly what you want. You want that person, whoever he arrives, to think this year isn't just mine. It's not a given. And I think, as I say, Robertson got that fire in his belly to make that be the case. And you've all alluded to it, the leadership qualities he brings. He's Scotland's national team captain. Like, he's a proper leader. And I think you need them in your squad. And I think Robertson has got bucket loads of that. And I think you'd have to have a conversation with him about what his squad role was. I think he might know that himself. He might be. But what's interesting, I saw last night actually, Premier League put out like a thing on Instagram saying about him and Trent were sat on the bench next to each other. I don't know if you've seen it, about how many assists they produced. And Robertson put that on his story, which I thought was quite telling. It's almost as if to say, like, don't forget about me, my quality.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not. And he said that time and time again this season when it has been brought into question just what his role will be.
I think it's important to remember that as well, and it's stuff like that to get highlighted. Andy Robertson gets so disrespected around the Premier League, in terms of his status in all-time Premier League left backs. I saw sort of clip from the club's Instagram where someone had left a voice note saying that he was better than Ashley Cole, and the panel were like laughing. And then obviously Rory's on the panel, and he's entitled to have his opinion on Ashley Cole. Ashley Cole was terrific, but it comes back to like, it's funny how some metrics get used for some footballers and some are exempt from them somehow. There's like some players you can say, oh, it's feelings and what have you. It was the experience of watching them, and other ones, it's got to be exactly what they won and exactly what they won, what they performed with, like on the pitch, in terms of like assisting goals and all that kind of stuff. But Robertson's a legendary Premier League left back, in my opinion.
There was a period where I think he was the best left back in the world.
Yeah, I agree. Just on that assist and goals point, though, eye-openingly, he's got 0 of either this season in the Premier League. Goss only got 1. I think it was for Jota maybe in the Nottingham Forest game, wasn't it? First touch for both of them, wasn't it, actually?
Corner.
Yeah, exactly. But I do, and listen, the way the fullbacks, both sides play is clearly different now. Yeah. We know that, but still, to have 0 assists for Andy Robertson isn't, and when you couple that with the mistakes he has made defensively, that is slightly concerning. Yeah. So I'm not sitting here advocating for Robertson to be the first choice forevermore, but I think if you keep him till the end of his contract, like we've touched on, that's smart.
I feel there's just where Slot's just sat there going, I'm just keeping my options open.
Yeah,
that's all it is. he's probably there going, I'm quite comfortable with either. If we get a first choice left back, I'm actually okay. As long as Costas is okay with his place in the squad and he's not going to kick up a fuss or anything else, as long as Robertson's exactly the same, if he was to be the second choice, then you look at it and go, well, actually, it's checks and balances exercise here. Robertson's on reportedly twice as much as Costas Tsimikas. You could keep Costas and you could bring in somebody else for the same price that you're paying Andy Robertson on a weekly basis, essentially, because Costas is on about 75, Robertson's on about 150, something like that. You know, Robertson's got 1 year left. Maybe you ship him on, maybe you keep Costas for 2 years, maybe you see what else is being done in and around. You might bring experience in, you might bring leadership in. If you bring that in, it's less important to have Andy Robertson there, etc., etc. And I think that's maybe probably what Slot's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting to note he's played the 7th most minutes of anyone, all comps, Robertson, this season in the squad, which I thought was quite interesting given how heavily he was rotated in the first third or so of the season. Twice as many minutes as Tsimikas has actually played. So there is also that point of if you switch that round so he becomes the Tsimikas in that environment, you could get that could be an absolutely brilliant Andy Robertson for us next season. You drop him into the more heated environments where you really want someone where the nous counts makes sense to me. If nothing else, it's an interesting one though. The thing to remember about Robertson though, it's like if you sold either of them, better clubs will want Robertson than Tsimikas. Yeah, like if you look at the Kyle Walker thing, you know, like there'd be no short. Kyle Walker's legs have completely gone by his own standards. And there's a player who was entirely dependent upon the pace that provided him. There'll be no shorter takers for him. There'll be no shorter takers. There's loads of clubs in Serie A who would want him. I'm sure there'll be Bundesliga and La Liga clubs who've taken a look at Andy Robertson, certainly. And as much as we say he is only 31 and he is only just 31. So there is more in the tank, but it'd be interesting whether he psychologically could take that. You're not playing.
That's the interesting
50
thing.
Games a season.
We know Tsimikas can because he's done that more or less since he arrived. I just think with Robertson, and again, I think you're going to get a better version of whoever the new guy is with an Andy Robertson there and all his experience of leading upon. And I spoke to Owen Beck earlier on the season, and he couldn't sing highly enough the praises of Robertson as a role model and as somebody to learn from being a left back. But I think Robertson will push the new guy and make sure that he's performing week in, week out. Not saying Tsimikas won't do that, but he's been the backup now is kind of my point on Tsimikas. Like, I think it's time. And also, to your point about sort of the monetary and the finances of it, you'll get a better fee probably for Costas Tsimikas because of the 2 years left on his deal.
Quite possibly, yeah. Obviously, we've seen us now. It's been a week between games now for a couple of weeks, a week of training coming into it. I think you can see Chloe, particularly in the first half performances and actually extending into the second half this week compared to last. Liverpool did look fresher. They looked more. Do you not agree?
I thought we were poor, really poor in that first half.
We
had more than we have in the last couple of weeks, but I still didn't think we were good enough.
No, but that's not what I'm saying. And what I'm saying is
marginally better.
Yeah. We don't look
leggy.
Dead on our feet like we did 3 weeks ago.
And I think Ryan Gravenberch after the game and the quotes that came out today, that he turned around and said it's been hard because he hardly played last season and then he's been asked to go every single game pretty much this season. It has been good and helpful to us at the fact that they've had mid-weeks off and being able to recover. And I think we're seeing it in the likes of Alexis McAllister, who's just an absolute machine. He is phenomenal in that midfield. And I think, when Kirk comes on, you can see the desire from him and him challenging Sobbo in those moments as well. So we definitely looked like we had more legs. I still thought we weren't quite at our level, and I don't think we've been at our level for the majority of the season. There is so much improvement, and that's a good thing from our perspective because we've pissed the league whilst not actually having to play unbelievably all season. We've just been the most consistent, and that's good for us because it means in the summer, our managers came out and said that Virgil van Dijk, Mo Salah, they've all turned around and said we're going to have a big summer here to add more quality to that team who, for a large amount of the season, hadn't really had to get out of second gear to win games. That says positive things about what we should look forward to.
Just picking up on the point that Chloe made there, though, Chris, about that the benefits of playing once a week. Who do you think? Because Alexis McAllister was mentioned there, and I think he's one of the strongest candidates for it. Who do you think we've seen in the last couple of weeks showing signs of benefiting from not playing twice a week?
I think Alexis McAllister is probably the number one. I think Mo in this game compared to the last is probably the other biggest one, because it felt like in the last couple of games he's gone 45 and then in the second half he's just been absolutely nowhere near the goal. Now I will say, and I'll caveat that with, his finishing wasn't good enough, you know, at the weekend, but at least he was a threat for the full 90 minutes. I slightly disagree with Chloe in that I do think it was a decent performance from Liverpool. I don't think the finishing was good enough, but like whenever you go into a game and you create 9 big chances and you have nearly 3 XG compared to 0.25, I think that's a dominant performance, to be honest with you.
If you don't mind, just a point, I think it was Paul Tompkins raised this on his post-match content. The XG that we created was fractionally less than what Arsenal created, but Arsenal come away with 4 goals. And that's the thing about situations like that is you can... The underlying numbers actually do tell a tale in some regards. Like,
and our underlying numbers all season long have kind of been the same. You know, we've created more better chances than the opposition, which is why we're winning games. And that's just, for me, it was just a continuation of what we've been doing the rest of the season, limiting their opportunities to nearly nothing and creating loads of opportunities ourselves. Now, where I agree with Chloe is, I don't think the finishing was good enough.
Yeah.
That's a problem. Mo Salah's shot just outside the 6-yard box that goes off both posts. Yeah. That's terrible. But you would back him that normally he would score, and has normally scored.
Pete McDowell celebrated that. I don't know if anyone heard the commentary. I listened back to the Liverpool commentary. Pete McDowell literally went goal and then had to correct himself. Oh no, it's not. It was brilliant. Because you're right, normally 9 times out of 10, if not more, that's in, isn't it?
I think what you're seeing there is people who get to see it on TV and then people inside the ground, because the second half for me, I thought we were so much better, but we were shooting on end. That Salah chance, I actually thought was really good. I thought he was unlucky to hit the post, but I am literally miles away from it. Ibu has a header. I thought it was cleared off the line. I couldn't tell you if it's actually cleared off the line or if it was going on target or someone else, because you're that far away. Where the second half, the coming towards you, Salah has several chances. Bradley, the crossing, and Trent from the right-hand side. I think Sobbo puts in a brilliant ball for Jota, who has a header just past the post. So that's also a thing in the game where everything's the other end. You're miles away from it, so it feels less. I think Gakpo has one on the half-term, which might be a really good chance before half-time. But from how far away we are, it doesn't feel like that. And at half-time, you're looking around, and the fans inside the ground are going, it's a little bit slow, it's a little bit crap. And then you come out of it, and you might watch the highlights and think, well, actually, Salah's hit one. We've had one. They hit the post, and we had a counter-attack that was a really good chance.
I think the point you're talking about there, though, is what we're kind of saying as well, is that actually last week it was 45 minutes and there was fucking nothing. Like, you know, I think we had 5 minutes at the start of the second half, didn't we, where we were okay, but then it was so drab and we were attacking the cop that you were expecting this barnstorming finish, and it never arose. It kind of did this week, because the way, and it makes me wonder whether just a little bit more in the tank, Dan, so they had the ability to dig a bit deeper.
I thought that was evidenced in the performance, but and I get Chloe's point entirely, but I must admit that particularly the first half, actually, funnily enough, had more sort of verve and at it about it. I think it has been too ponderous and too lethargic recently, and certainly that second half against West Ham was all of those things. But yeah, pretty much from the outset onwards, there was obviously Leicester had moments. They hit the post themselves, and they indeed that was at your end first half, so they look at them and say, well, what if? But I just thought it was a Liverpool performance with far more energy than what we've seen recently. And to your point, Chris, as well, like Salah's wasteful, Diogo Jota's wasteful. On another day, we're walking out of there 3 or 4-0 up, and jobs are good. And
I think, but you know, the biggest thing we've talked about all season long, haven't we? And everybody said like the difference between Slot and Klopp and all this type of stuff, and I get that. The biggest difference, I think, is at 0-0, 70 minutes gone, a Klopp side is going hell for fucking leather to get a goal,
and probably has been for 70 minutes.
But this is what I find really interesting. That might be the biggest difference. Is that we, you know, Chloe used the word a bit ponderous. They're just a little bit. Or was it Dan? Sorry, Dan says a little bit ponderous. I agree with that completely. But it's at the point where you're thinking, we need to up this, guys. We really need to go, and the players are going, no. This is what we do. We take our time and we'll rush things if it gets to 80, 85, 90 minutes. But this Liverpool side and the Slot just go, no, we're doing the right things. We believe in our ability. We know we're going to break them down at some point. The dam is going to open and we're going to walk away with 3 points.
Do you know what it reminds me a little bit of? That when Spain and Barca perfected tiki-taka, and it became a bit sterile in that way because it wasn't super. You were relying on player moments to give you that mad lift. The style of football isn't totally thrilling, apart from those moments where there's a heavy press and you do a couple of really amazing passes and you're out, and but that's like a really weird thing to get excited about. It's not like someone thundering into a challenge and shouldering someone off the ball and then you're like the red arrow streaming forward. So yeah, I agree. There might be a psychological impact in that without a shadow of a doubt, but we definitely had a bit more of that in the second half, I think, because I think Bradley came into his own more. I think in the second half down that right-hand side, overlapping runs, Gravenberch got forward a little bit more in support. So, and again, that's in your corner as well.
Yeah. Does that really well. I thought defensively had a bit of an iffy time. There was one in the first half in particular where he just lets the ball stop in the middle of inexplicably that's fine, I can stay there. And his left leg goes, no, he can't. Like, I'm going to take that off him, which is odd. And he gets booked. And he did defensively. I thought he struggled a little bit personally, but I thought in the attacking sense, I thought he was excellent actually.
Yeah, I mean, just let's stick with Bradley. I just think he's great, and I think Chloe. We're having that conversation around the left back kind of situation. This is another one where I'm fascinated to see what we do with Bradley in the next 5 games. Are we gearing him up to be the first choice right back for next season, or is Slot going to decide that he might need to have something else in and around? And we definitely will need another body one way or the other if Trent doesn't stay. But if he continues to show the good things that he was showing, we could. I think, is going to be one of the real fun parts of this running, apart from winning the league.
And also that we know from previous experience that he needs help because his body's not up to it right now. You see how many times he has to, he comes off with little injuries, he comes back and a couple of games later he's off injured again. You can't put that amount of pressure on a young lad who's still, building, and we need him to, be a unit, but at the same time be so athletic with what he does. But in that second half, I thought he was brilliant. There's, like we mentioned, Salah kind of stayed out wide, and it was him doing the inside runs off the ball. And I think there's one where Salah puts it into him, and his first touch is absolutely incredible. And he gets himself in a position similar to Chelsea last year, where everyone's just screaming for him to hit it, and instead he crosses it. And that's another,
what was he doing?
And that's another moment where you think, next year, a couple of years' time, he just takes that on himself because it's not Salah or Jota or anyone else in the box. He backs himself to do it. So look, he's still getting in those brilliant moments. Defensively, he did struggle for 20 minutes, but I thought on the whole he was fine after that. And he's got so much energy up and down. His quality is brilliant. His delivery is great. And like we said, he's a bit more of a natural fullback, so he's fine without being really, really wide. But then he's also really good with close control inside the box as well. And that that moment, he has a couple of them where he probably should do better. He should take it on himself. And the ball isn't brilliant by him. But yet there's just so much to like about him. Also the fact that I think he came out and he spoke so much about how he's grown up being a Liverpool fan as well, which you just love to hear. He's came here when he was a little kid and he's grew up with the club.
I'll probably go Real.
Ball that going round.
I hope not. You can see one of them, I guess. Not both, please. But yeah, I think he's absolutely boss, and he'll only
ends up in the baller league. One way or the other. Yeah, no.
Why'd you put a dampen on it? That's part 2, that, Chris.
Sorry, I shouldn't have brought it up.
I love Conor Bradley. I think he's great. I love the fact that he seems to be like, he's got like that Robbo Narc about him as well, where he doesn't like losing. You can wonder sometimes, because he was very much a lad, Dan, that we've converted back, back rows to ultimately be a right back. It does make you wonder whether there'll be a point at some point in his career where he could even go back the other way. It takes a lot, but actually having that pace is one of the often the deciding factor in that. It's a bold example, by the way, and I'm not saying he's going to be the next Gareth Bale.
I can't wait.
He's going to be the next Gareth Bale. But the one having that dynamism about how you carry the ball is something that could happen. That's what happened with Bale. Bale got made into a left back. In that case, he will fuck off to Real Madrid and probably score against us in a Champions League final.
Can't wait to play in the San Siro. That'd be a fucking joy to watch that one.
Just play for Northern Ireland and play golf every day.
In that order.
But he's got so much to enjoy about this game, and I'm setting a ridiculously high bar there. But provided he's got those physical attributes going for him, and he loves a scrap, that he could be a complete right back.
No, absolutely he could be, and I think he's a complete right back that Arne Slot wants as well. I think potentially more importantly, I think he's got everything that he needs and desires from that position. And yeah, he's a joy to watch when he's in full flow. And I think we saw that yesterday, certainly in flashes. Like I say, a couple of defensive little problems to iron out, but that can happen in any game, in any given situation. Certainly when you're up against a tricky winger, I thought he handled himself pretty well, second half in particular. It's interesting, the robustness, the durability stuff, and clearly it's an issue because we've seen it. You know, I've said myself, he has been too injury prone to be relied upon as our first choice right back moving forwards. However, I probably did this last week, hark back to his season at Bolton, where he played like 54 games. Yeah. And he was like 2 years younger than he is now. And a lot of it was like a wing back and even sometimes the right winger, so different roles clearly. But 50 odd games at like 19 years of age. Like there's clearly, he has the ability, whatever's happened since he got back to Liverpool, whether it's a stop-start nature.
Could just be him growing.
Could be that. But they need to put the finger on what it is and work out what it is. Can he be the 50-odd game guy again for us moving forwards, or do we need to get somebody to compete or maybe be the first choice? That's where we're at.
He's such an interesting conversation for Liverpool's transfer planning because I think the best version of Conor Bradley, you don't need someone. You can't buy someone better than him. Basically, you're only buying as good. But it's that thing of like, is he ready? Or do you want to stand someone in his way of his development if you get someone who's also just as good, just more senior?
He'll be thinking, by the way, and I spoke to him pre-season when we were at the Sevilla pre-season game, and at the time it was like Trent was clearly so installed as the first choice. He basically said to us, like, it's just to push Trent as much as I can and sort of get as many games as I can and take the opportunities as and when. Now, he'll probably be thinking, no, this is mine. This is I'm number one now. I've earned me stripes. I've put performances when called upon to warrant this. So you're right. From his point of view, if Liverpool do go into the market and sign one, we were talking about how you speak to Andy Robertson before. What do you say to Conor Bradley? At that juncture, you know what I mean? Like, you've been sort of geared up and developed to a point whereby we think you're ready, but we don't think you're ready at the same time. I don't quite know how you cross that bridge.
I think Liverpool think they're ready. I think he's ready, don't they? I think
they think he's good enough.
Yeah, definitely. It's the injury thing is the only big question mark over him, isn't it? So I wonder whether there's a signing a bit like Tsimikas from a few years ago, where it's someone that you think is of a similar level. Because I think that's what Tsimikas was. I think they thought he was of a similar level to Andy Robertson and could push him a little bit. I don't think it worked out that way. I think it worked out that he was just a second for a few years, and that's fine. Not all signings are exactly what you think, are they? But with Conor, I do think it's like, just get someone in that they push each other and almost go like, it's your share, Conor, but you've got to win the fight as well for the right back position.
How's Calvin Ramsey doing?
No. You know me, I hate being negative around Liverpool youngsters, full stop, but it just hasn't worked. He's up at Kilmarnock now, barely kicked the ball in anger, and that's like his fourth failed loan spell. He just needs to go and play football somewhere on a consistent basis, and I don't think it's going to be Liverpool. Yeah,
it's an interesting one. Love him though. Let's have a little chat around Cody Gakpo. Chloe, I think he might be. I'd be interested to get what your thoughts were on his performance, because I do wonder whether he is almost the exact example of how you've just reviewed the match for us. Go on. What did you think of Cody Gakpo?
Once again, he's on the other end of me for the first half. But I just thought, look, we all know how much he likes to cut inside, and most of the time he's able to do it so freely, because even though the defender knows what he's going to do, he's just really silky on the ball. I just didn't think there was enough from him in the game. That is what I would say. Everything felt like it came majority down the right-hand side in that first half. Like I said there, I think he has one moment where he somehow ended up on the right-hand side, and I think the ball comes into him, he does a nice turn, but the effort's tame and goes straight to the keeper. And yeah, I just didn't. You want more from him. That's the only thing. And there's been little moments where you've seen the Cody Gakpo before he was injured, but we haven't seen that enough, and that's fine, because there's other people who can pick up the slack for him, and he's still coming back from an injury. But yeah, you just want to see more from him. And I don't think he set the world alight or had many moments of brilliance down that left-hand side.
I thought he was fine. Like, and the problem is, and this we'll have a wider conversation around the form of the team in general, but he might be one of the archetypes of this almost, Dan, is that I was reasonably pleased with how he played. You know, I thought he wasn't being the one-trick pony, Coutinho-esque, where he was constantly cutting inside and then looking to get a shot off. You know, he had a variation of things where he did have one little curled effort. He was trying to float that ball over to the back post, you know, or to the middle of the goal for you know, cross it in. I thought he went to the byline a couple of times, and actually that made him a bit of a threat. But it is interesting. SofaScore don't register him as having any dribble attempts, which doesn't correlate with how I remember his performance. And there's obviously some sort of statistical quirk in there. But I also, when he came off, there was lots of comments in the watch along saying Cody's done nothing. He's done nothing. He's definitely better than he was Paris Saint-Germain / League Cup final. Yeah. But at the moment, to tie it into almost the Diaz conversation as well, if Luis Diaz had unequivocally said, I don't play centre forwards, I wonder whether Cody Gakpo would be getting any minutes on the left-hand side at all. Out
of the two of them, I think Diaz is definitely the hot hand. I think he's the informed one without a shadow of a doubt. But I think Gakpo had a decent game, flattered to deceive a little bit. The end product, I agree with your point. I think what he did show is different ways of attacking. He didn't give the defender like, well, I know what you're going to do here, mate. He wasn't predictable in that sense. He did go both ways. But I think too often, whatever it was, whether it be a potential opportunity to score himself or potentially provide, he just got that bit wrong. Time and time again, like he overhit a couple of crosses to the back post, which has become his stock and trade a little bit this season, actually. Never quite pulled that off. I think he had a header as well at some point. Did he get a bit wrong? So, yeah, a slightly underwhelming Cody Gakpo performance again. But I thought, generally speaking, his all-round game was okay. But in those big moments where you want somebody of his quality to produce that moment, it never quite arrived.
And this is almost that thing where Diaz at the moment, I think, Chloe's our best left winger. But actually, there's possibly a case that he's our best centre forward as well. So, you know, there's a slight complication that the manager's kind of dealing with, where I think he really likes Gakpo, and I think he trusts that Gakpo will come back into form through playing him. But it is a little annoying that I feel like we're almost missing out on this hot hand that Diaz is riding at the moment to try and jumpstart Cody Gakpo's season.
Yeah, it is that. And look, if Diogo Jota was playing at a really good level again, you wouldn't have this problem either. And we all thought that moment against Everton was the moment where finally we get the Jota back that we know, that's so ruthless and deadly. Because before that, you know, his first touch was absolutely horrendous. You could see that he was a yard off absolutely everything. And once again, coming back from injury, it's not helped that he's not came back, and with his time back, he's not, you know, carried on the form from previous, which then puts more pressure on Diaz, because when he is in the squad, Diaz moves back over to the left, and like we've said there, we've seen him look a lot more livelier, and look, he got the goal at the back post with Salah's assist the other day, and he is the one who is, you know, hot in hands. And as for Gakpo, it's another time when he's moved out to the left, and I absolutely adore the lad. I think his quality is incredible, and he's came up brilliant for me in moments for us this season. He has, but both of them were injured at that time, and both of them have meant that Diaz has had to switch positions and move and not be consistently in one position. And you kind of, Jota comes on and I think he does all right, but he's not being consistent enough or good enough to start up top. And then you're moving Diaz up there, which means Gakpo, who's not quite at the level at the moment, is playing left wing. So it's a good job that, you know, we're about to win a league title and we don't really need to worry about this right now. Careful. Because there's other players. No, I'm going for it. It's fine. Yeah. But it would be nice if, you know, Diaz could move out to the left. You could see an informed Jota, and then maybe you give Gakpo the end of the last 20 minutes or something with Diaz, and tell them to fight for that shirt again, because that always helps.
I mentioned this yesterday, Chris, on the watch along, about the per 90s in terms of goals from Liverpool's players, and Jota was 0.52 at the time. That's now down to 0.5, but actually because Diaz and Gakpo don't score, theirs falls from 0.48 to 0.46 as well. There's not a great, Darwin Núñez is 0.45. There's not loads between all of these lads, but Diaz is very obviously, when Diaz performs, even when Diaz doesn't have a great game, he
demands your attention. That's what he does, Diaz, isn't it? You know, for me, Cody just takes a little longer to come back from an injury. There are players like that, aren't
big
they?
lads.
Pardon?
The big lads.
It is. You could see it. There was a point where he was running yesterday and I thought, he still doesn't look like he's running at full pelt like he did maybe 2 or 3 months ago when he was absolutely banging form. And there's nothing wrong with that. Players do take a little bit of time. Some take more time than others to come back into it. The frustrating thing for me is that we don't have a centre forward. Yeah. Because I think it would just be Diaz on the left-hand side at the moment, because Arne Slot strikes me as a man who just wants to get wins and he'll play the hot hand. And that's his perfect sort of competition there. He's got 2 guys who play the role very, very differently, but both are impactful when they're in form. I think he'd just be playing Diaz and he'd be giving Gakpo 20 minutes at the moment with 1 game a week, but I don't think he's afforded that because of Jota and Nunes and a lack of trust for Chiesa as well.
It's one thing, it works against Diaz now, there's versatility because he's not being played in the position where I think he wants to be played, but I do wonder whether it might help him in the summer and beyond, because all of a sudden we haven't got a lot of versatility in that front line. Salah plays where Salah plays. Jota, we know, came in as a left-sided player for us, but has been used for a minuscule amount of minutes, if at all, this season from that. Darwin, we know, can do that, but that also felt very much like we did that with Cisse and we did that with Origi a bit of when you can't, it doesn't fit your style, you put the lad with pace out wide and hope that something works. Everton did it with Victor and Achabi, you know what I mean? That's the kind of situation.
And Achabi.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you say that to correct my pronunciation?
I've never heard that in my life.
Anachabi.
Is that how you say it? That is mad. That
I'd be with you. Honestly, I would be. Yeah.
I just have.
I saw him score against us one for West Brom. That was a grim afternoon. That was.
Cool.
Anyway,
I've never heard that. His name said like that.
Anichebe, really?
Anichebe, I'd be Anichebe, yeah. Okay. How have we spent so long on Victor Anichebe?
Anichebe, I have no idea.
Can we get back to talking about Kostas Tsimikas?
But there's Diaz can play in all 3 of those positions, which I think is a very useful thing. And for me, it goes back to this is more summer transfer content, but it only speaks to my deep love for Luis Diaz. Whereas I'm looking at those other lads and going, we all of a sudden, when we started the season, our understandings of these players were slightly different, but we're seeing Slot's understanding of them. Jota is clearly a centre forward. Darwin Nunes is clearly a centre forward. Federico Chiesa is dead. That's an example of all of these things. Definitely, it will be interesting to see whether whether that informs anything that we do moving forward. I wanted to pick up on Chloe's point about the form in a sec, but just lastly, one quick thing before we do the goal. Elliot, Chris, good to see him at least being turned to. He doesn't have enough time on the pitch really to do a massive impact, but he did look bright. We know he dovetails with Salah really, really well. The argument being made at the time was you've then got Trent, Elliot and Salah. If you want your least safe right-hand side of a team on that, but also your most creative, there might be a better balance between those type of players for whatever, but yeah, at least Elliot is getting a look in now, which is nice for him.
No, it is, but it goes back for me to Slot being quite a conservative manager. I think, that was a game yesterday for me where Harvey Elliott could have played from the start, no problems whatsoever with Conor Bradley and Mo there, because they really weren't offering too much over the course of the 90 minutes, and I don't think they were ever going to. They're crap. They're terrible. If you can't play Harvey Elliott and a proper number 10 against a team that are basically relegated with 6 games to go, when can you? That's a concern for me, and it should be a concern for Harvey as well, because you're just waiting for a game against Southampton where you can play him. Is that the only?
Because he missed your chance if that's the case.
Didn't think he started, did he?
No, that's how bad teams are. Yeah. And he never started. That's a real worry for me, because I think he's brilliant and I think he offers us something. And the game was screaming out for him, but it was screaming out from the start, not just 60, 70 minutes in.
And if the critique of him, Dan, is that maybe you lose something defensively compared to Szoboszlai, then have him on the pitch when Bradley's on the pitch, who's got the legs to get back and cover. If that's the argument, which I'm not convinced it is, by the way, I think there is just a case of he's lacking half a yard of pace and half a foot in height, and that might be what puts Szoboszlai over the top, because I don't think his engine's any different. We saw Javier a year ago. He was playing 90 minutes and 120 minutes back to back to back. He'll run all day for you, Elliot, but is it just as simple as that?
I think it might be, personally. I think his willingness to put a shift in has never really been in question, and that stands up against Dom Szoboszlai and anybody else you want to put forward and put a case for in that Liverpool squad. So I don't really factor that in. For me, I agree entirely with Chris in terms of there have been numerous examples actually in recent weeks whereby he's been screaming out for Harvey Elliott, not in-game, pre-game as well. And I think yesterday was one of them. I think if we are where we are in the league, and we're going to win the Premier League, and it's been somewhat of a cakewalk. Chloe made the point earlier on that we're going to do it without really changing gears, and I tend to agree. If you then can't play or trust somebody with Harvey Elliott's skill set and Harvey Elliott's ability, because Liverpool are likely to dominate possession and just be the better team on the day. Like, if you're that concerned about going backwards and defensively, something's not right there. Like, Liverpool are going to be the better team, so Harvey Elliott's okay to play, in my opinion. Like, that's fine, and again, he will get back and he will help out. Mo Salah did it yesterday at one point, which was staggering. But yeah, I don't see, there's not really many games for me that crop up over the course of an entire season, not just in the Premier League, but any competition where Harvey Elliott isn't suitable. But Arne Slot sees it completely differently, and it's only the height and the pace that I can really put any finger on. But I think Harvey Elliott's exceptional, and it'd be a crying shame if, because of the lack of football, he has to leave, and that's kind of where we're headed. Yeah, no, it certainly looks that way, which is a bit of a downer, but not the positive spin that I was looking for. I was like, isn't it good that he's actually at least bringing him off the bench? We didn't see Endo. He's gone up the pecking order compared to the aforementioned Figo Chiesa. So, and there are a couple that he's leapfrogged, but not enough for me still. But when you look at it,
Curtis is still in front of him when you're starting games in the midfield, aren't you? So he's still the fifth choice centre midfielder, probably.
But it's still 3 from 4. Isn't it, before games, realistically? Yeah. Like, we'd like to sit here and say it's 3 from 5, 6 if you include time, but it just isn't. Not in terms of start. It's not, you're right.
It's
just not, absolutely, yeah.
Right.
But it's interesting, the Endo thing, is that, I just wonder, because we didn't see Endo, there was no sign. I mean, Curtis Jones was the last sub. I think we still had a sub left that we didn't use. And that was a less attacking sub. We've taken Diaz off for Jones, so you've got someone who's a bit, who's going to hold the ball a little bit for the final 3 minutes or whatever he actually got on the pitch. But it was interesting that he decided to just trust in more footballers as opposed to even do the Endo thing. So maybe that experiment ended last week when he brought him on and we conceded, and he went, actually, you know what?
That's that.
Fuck him, it's done. At least we got the boss song.
Just quickly, Harvey Elliott had to work fucking hard to get the trust of Slot to even get these minutes. Yeah. You know what I mean? I don't think we're too far removed from him not being trusted at all in pretty much any situation. Yeah. Certain performances that he's put in when he has been called upon, PSG as an example, there are others as well, have meant that all of a sudden Slot will turn to him, whereas at one point it felt like he wasn't even a viable option from the bench, which is staggering to me. We can't criticise Arne Slot, full stop, end of sentence, but there are little things in Harvey Elliott's usage or lack of is one we probably could look at, mainly because we all adore Harvey Elliott and we love Harvey as a human being. We love the fact he's a Red and just wants to play for the shirt, but he's definitely a footballer this season that I think will be a little bit put out by his lack of involvement.
Right. I want to talk about Liverpool's form and how how we're seeing the season out, because I'm seeing so much negativity online. And look, I hate the fact that we've become this. It's mad because, again, 15 years, it wasn't as big a thing, so you never really discussed the online discourse because there wasn't a great deal of online discourse. Now it's all pervading. But I very rarely dip in to the Redmen comment section on YouTube as much anymore after the fact. But I was looking through yesterday and I saw a response to Chris's post-match video. So I'm going to read this comment and as a jumping off point for all of this. It says, "Don't make excuses, Chris. The opposition were Leicester. I could sympathise if we played 3 games a week, but the players now have a game a week. Elite athletes on ridiculous wages should be able to cope. Slot not using squad players at the start is still very frustrating. Champions elect, but do we deserve it with dull, boring football like this?" Fuck me. Does anyone want to have a go at that?
If dull, boring football wins me a Premier League title, I'll watch it every single season.
I think your right to reply, Chris, should be first off.
Yeah, never look at it again.
Yeah.
Because there's not like...
What are you picking out from it?
Don't make excuses for Leicester. Listen, I'm not making excuses for beating a team. which we did. I could sympathise if we played 3 games a week. We very rarely play 3 games a week. It's 2 games a week.
It's me.
Such a page off bugbear.
Elite athletes, wages don't count, okay, should be able to cope. Elite athletes should be able to play 3 games a week, but the prime to play 2. Slot not using squad players at the start is very frustrating, but we might not be in the position we're in, to be fair. Champions elect, that's all I see. We're champions elect. But do we deserve it? Do we deserve it? Look at the league table. Look at the league table. Yeah. We've scored more goals than anybody still, I think.
Yeah, probably.
Yes, we've got the best goal difference. We've got the best goal difference by an absolute mile. We've probably got the second or third best defence in the league.
We've scored 75 goals this season. The second most of anyone is Manchester City on 64, so 11 more goals than Manchester City. We've got the second best defensive record. Arsenal conceded 27, we've conceded 31.
But our goal difference is 10 better than anybody else in the league. Our points difference is 13 better than anybody else in the league. Do we deserve it? Yes.
My response to this one, it really caused me to nibble, and I don't do this very often, was 13 points clear with 5 games to go. Liverpool don't deserve it. Who does? Because if you're talking about deserve, then there has to be someone else. I don't think you can say Liverpool don't deserve it unless you're saying someone else has done more to deserve it, and I can't see by any visible metric who. It's ludicrous that we could even have that as a suggest that there's someone who deserves it more.
You can only be as good as the teams that are around you, and we've been the most consistent. I mean, the points per games across the season has been a joke from us compared to the likes of Arsenal. And on top of that, like, I don't get how you can be 13 points clear and not deserve it. And a lot of people will try and take it away from us, and maybe it's not because it's high emotion every single game, it's last minute winners, it's having to go to the well time and time again. It's just a different style of football. And if you exert less energy, which means that you can go longer in other competitions or you can sustain that title charge, then that helps you out in the long run. Maybe it's because for the past several seasons, it's been a 90-plus season that you've needed to win this title. And they've looked at City and Arsenal going blow for blow, or City and us years ago going blow for blow. But this season, you didn't need to do that. And we haven't seen Liverpool really under pressure, so who knows if Arsenal were actually closer to us. Maybe we play slightly different, or maybe you see the high emotions, you get more exciting football, but it hasn't constantly been needed, and we haven't had to get out of second gear to win loads of our games. And when we have, we've stepped it up in second half of football, or subs off the bench, or tactical changes from the manager has meant that we've just gone up a different gear, and everyone else looks a little bit crap in comparison to us in the second half of football games. We've just found different ways to win football. It doesn't have to be end-to-end constant pressure, constant excitement. Getting over the line and winning a league title by just pissing the league is sound with us as well.
Yeah. It's almost like, Dano, we've done it a bit the wrong way round. And it has been a bit of a procession at times.
With that though, right? For the simple fact that if you take that and you look at it and say it's a 100-metre race or a 400-metre race, and you've seen loads of probably races over the years where some fella's gone out the blocks really, really fast, and the commentators going, oh, but you know, has he gone too fast? He's won it and he's got a gold medal round his fucking neck. Yeah. Does it matter that he went out faster at the beginning, or did he win because he went out faster at the fucking beginning and he got so far ahead that no fucker could catch him?
Yeah.
No one cares because he's got a gold medal. Does he care? No. Does he care that they were closing him at the end? No, because it's a 38-game season, and if you win more points in that 38-game season, doesn't matter where you win the points, you win the fucking title.
We're a bit tired getting over the line.
Yeah. Who cares? No one gives a shit.
But we're at a fascinating point now where if Liverpool win, even if Arsenal win their next 2 games, we win ours, we'll end up with a 13-point gap. Even if we continue to win up until the point where we are confirmed as Premier League champions, we could then lose our remaining 4 games, and that won't be that gap anymore. But it literally won't matter in the slightest, and that's the hard thing. And the thing is, actually, the gap hasn't shrunk. The gap has consistently actually been around 11 points for about 2/3 of the season from us to Arsenal, pretty much since like October or November or whatever. But it's a weird psychological thing where if we were grinding out 1-0s in October, like we did when we won it last time, you'd be talking about, because I don't know whether people are just expecting it to be more, because I just wonder whether there was a lot of people who watched Arsenal beat Ipswich 4-0 and presumed we would just go and beat a similar relegation threatened team at that kind of performance, and maybe that's not wrong, but for me, it's done. We've got here how we've got here. What's left in the tank is what's left in the tank, and what's left of the players is what's left of the players. I can be critical of not rotating a little bit more, but I can't tell you that rotating more would have led to this kind of lead. I can't, because I've seen us try it loads of different ways, and I've only seen us win it once before, and we did that by going absolute foot to the floor and burning out 12, 13, 14 footballers. We just never got to see quite what that looked like, because they then had 3 months off before they came back to play football and finish it off. So maybe we'd have won it in 2020 exactly the same, probably worse, because look how pissed they were when they played Man City after it was confirmed. When how awful they were on the ale after that. I just think there's a bit of, I don't know, because we've got nothing to talk about. I think people are analysing these games almost like they're super serious. And no, they are, because we still haven't accrued the points to confirm the title, and I would always like to see that happen. But when people are saying, "Oh, issues with the defence," it's like, man, worry about that. Worry about that in the summer. I just don't think we need to have the great inquisition into Liverpool's performances. What do we think?
No, I'm inclined to agree. I think people always want more. That we strive for perfection. I strive for perfection, if truth be told. I do. And I've looked at some of our performance recently, certainly second half of the season, actually, and gone, well, that isn't quite as ship-shape in Bristol fashion as it was in the first half of the season, you know what I mean? So there's definitely elements to that, but in terms of deserving or, worthy winners, that's a non-starter of a conversation. We've been by far and away the best team in the Premier League. Now, you could expand that conversation when it comes, obviously, the embarrassing FA Cup exit, the non-performance in the Carabao Cup final, and the disappointing Champions League exit as well. And you could say, well, what about them? I do think there's a conversation to be had about use of the squad and the trust in the squad and the depth of the squad potentially as well. But for the actual
we played the squad in them
we
games.
Did. Well, that's where the depth and that sort of stuff comes into question, you know what I mean? But
the counterpoint is people are saying those players should have played more.
But look what they did.
And they played. They didn't take the opportunity.
No, I'm 100% on board with that. Yeah, right. That was enough proof that Arne Slot ever needed to what he was doing, and his methods were working. You know what I mean? But yeah, in terms of, like I say, in terms of the way we've gone about our business in the Premier League alone, solely, you can't fault it. You simply can't. It's been absolutely phenomenal, and it's got us to a point whereby we are literally a win away from in April. You know what I mean? We're going to confirm the Premier League probably at the weekend, hopefully at the weekend. So, yeah, it's been a joy to watch. I do think people misremember the way we went about things previously a little bit as well, because we always say it was this free-flowing, exciting end-to-end football, and it definitely was.
Lots of 2-1s.
Lots of 2-1s, yeah. Lots of, and it's interesting actually. I thought about this coming into the podcast. We've been speaking a lot and crying out for moments. We've had 2 in 2 weeks all of a sudden. You know what I mean? So we're not short on them anymore either. So I do think in the fullness of time we'll look back on this Premier League solely season in a completely different light and remember it much more fondly. Yeah. However, that's not to say that people who are, and I do agree about microanalyzing, maybe going a bit over the top, because there's not a lot to talk about now in terms of Liverpool and picking it apart. But still, and you said this right at the top of the show, Chloe, as well, this isn't the finished Liverpool yet, and that's just exciting.
Yeah. It is, and I think, think about all the moments that we've had over this season. 3-0 away to United, and look, I am going to expand this into the Champions League, but in 1 week we beat Real Madrid and City back to back. We did the double. Yeah, we did the double over City. We walked into the Etihad and they played our game. That is exactly what we did there. I mean, the Champions League run, we finished top of that league table for fucking nothing. Yeah.
But it was great until it wasn't.
Like, we had a real tough set of fixtures there. Leverkusen, we had to get past a load of them. I remember going to Bournemouth away, and you found different ways to win. That was a game which I think we dug really deep, and you had the likes of Salah, just pieces of brilliance and magic. You've had your moments of Nunes v Brentford. So there has been some unbelievable footy played. I mean, Spurs 4-0 in the League Cup semi-final. When Liverpool have turned it on and played really good football, Liverpool have been incredible. It's just you don't need to do that every single game. And also, it's not just what it takes out of you playing that end-to-end football physically, but it's also mentally. Like, it's completely and utterly draining having to do that, where Liverpool haven't gone behind that many times this season and had to mentally keep going to the well. Yeah. And that is possibly why we're 13 points clear.
And people can say as well, like, you know, Arsenal have had loads of injury problems, City's injury problems. Liverpool have had like 3 seasons, I think like 3 of the last 5 seasons have been devastated by injuries in so many different ways. Liverpool have managed that spectacularly this season. This is on the back of a Euros summer as well, where players really struggled. You know, they didn't come back fit, they come back late, and then they've got nothing left in them by the end of the campaign. That's another one where we're looking at Cody Gakpo and, you know, and those kind of players and going, well, what's left? Probably not a lot. You know, they've played a lot of football, all of these lads. And even on that thing, kind of what you say, I think you were saying there, we lost to PSG on pens. Like, I know they were probably the better team over 2 legs, but like, I hate that. Yeah, well, they were the better team. Fuck me, we won the Champions League in 2005 by not being the better team in any single game in the knockout, apart from Leverkusen over 2 legs, where we beat them 3-1 in both, and we were amazing. Like, we ground our way through that competition. Chelsea, a fucking goal that, let's be honest, sorry, Lewis, didn't cross the line, got us to against Chelsea. We got our pants pulled down by a much better AC Milan team, and by luck and graft and magic won the cup. So shit goes against you sometimes and shit goes with you. Our underlying base of what we've built this season is sensational. Lost 2 games in the league, all season long is.
It's ridiculous.
One home, one away is ridiculous.
Klopp in his entire time here only did better than that once, didn't he? And we actually didn't win the league that season when we lost the 1 game. I think we ended up losing 3 in the season that we won it, didn't we?
Back end we lost.
But I think one of the earlier seasons we lost 1, didn't we? So what he's done is incredible, and I think a lot of people misremember the start of the season here. I think from August till January we were the best side in the world. Everybody was saying Liverpool are the best side in Europe by a country mile. I think at the back end of the season, don't think we've been the best side in Europe.
That's not just an opinion, by the way. That's the ELO rankings. It's only until last week when Arsenal just overtook us after beating Real Madrid. Liverpool were the top ranked club in Europe.
So, and this is something that I think, you know, all right, we haven't sustained the best side in Europe for an entire season. Okay, that's fine. It's year 1. No problem. Let's move on. Let's shape the squad. This is a squad that Slot, I think, and Richard Hughes looked at and went, let's just look at this squad this season and really plan for the future while we're thinking about how we mount a Premier League title challenge. Yeah. They've managed to piss the league somehow, and they're still probably thinking about the future. So, as Chloe said, this is a foundation, man, and Liverpool are going to get better and better and better.
The other thing I would say is, and look, this can go both ways, because it's not easy. It's Slot's first season in the Premier League, so it's not easy for other managers to try and predict what he's going to do. But at the same time, it's also not easy for him, because, you know, the first time round we can all sit there and say, well, look at that. He beats pretty much nearly everyone, because they don't have a lot of data on him because he was in, the Dutch league. But we have data on all of the other teams and the managers around us, so it was a little bit easier. But the second time round, he's had to play them again, and we've still, in the majority of them, came away with the wins. So we can sit here and say it's maybe not being easy for opposition to try and read exactly his game plan, but at the same time, he's had to play everyone for the first time here, not really having a clue and just using the data of things around him and having to adapt in games. Hopefully, with even more data and different ways that we can play, that can improve in his decision making and how he manages to tactically out-challenge some of the best managers in the world. Hopefully that can continue and only get better into the next several seasons as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything about it, again, we've signed out with obviously the Trent thing, which we'll come on to in the next part, but the best players pretty much are going to be there next season. The other best players who are all long-term tied down are all in a fabulous sort of age range as well, from, even from Bradley up until McAllister, really, sort of like between 21 and 27. So much of this squad is either in its prime or about to enter into its prime years.
By the way, I think it is worth mentioning, going back to that comment, I don't think Liverpool have been sensational over the last few weeks. I think I think it's fine to think that, but don't throw the baby out with the bathwater as well, because I think there are reasons that we haven't, and that might come into question Arne Slot and how he's managed the squad and everything else. But if he's deemed it that he doesn't think that we'd be as good with squad players, then who are we really to argue? Because he's come in and he's pissed the Premier League in his first season.
And also, can we just talk about the fact that, like you said there, some of these players, it's a big summer incoming. Some of them will get absolutely lobbed to the wayside. They will. And Darwin Núñez would be probably number one on there, to be perfectly honest. So he's had to play without a striker that he really likes, because he can't trust Jota physically, and he's playing.
He's won the league with someone else's squad. Yeah. It's a brilliant squad, and I think that got totally underrated in the summer. I think people thought that Klopp was so magic that he was somehow getting up like an amazing tune. Like he's one of those like fucking guys playing a cardboard guitar, but it's by the street side, but it's all charisma. You know what I mean? Like that's what's drawing you in. It's bullshit. He had a brilliant squad that was very carefully curated over a number of years by some very, very smart people, and Arne Slot inherited that, but also he's added his own.
He's managed this squad better than Jürgen did last season.
He's kept them fit. Is a primary thing, really. I agree.
And he's done something that Arteta hasn't been able to do in 5 years. That's win the Premier League without a fucking striker. So did you need a striker, or did you need a better manager? I don't know.
Just quickly on that final point you made a moment ago, like nobody will be more aware. We had these conversations till we're blue in the face. Nobody will be more aware of the shortcomings and what needs improving in the squad than Arne Slot. Like he will be so on that. It's unbelievable.
Right, I need to wrap this up because we've gone long. Couple of super chats. Martin Lawrence says, okay, a dominant if not clinical performance yesterday. But before the season, I'd have taken only the league. The commas, it's the most important trophy to win. 100%.
I disagree with the end of that, but that's fine.
What?
I think we had this debate the other day upstairs.
It's the most important trophy to win.
No.
I think to us this year it is, personally. I think the Champions League, generally speaking.
But it's the Champions League every single week. If you asked me at the start of every season what trophy I'd want to win.
I think to Liverpool fans, because of what's gone on.
Because I didn't get to celebrate
in the last few years, I think it's probably the Premier League, but I think overall, just about size.
Are you Premier League champs?
Well, no, I think the Premier League the Champions League is the bigger, is the more prestigious thing. Yeah. But to Liverpool, the Premier League, the league title is the bread and butter. You should be winning league titles every year, and then win European Cups whenever you can.
It's a good. I think to the players and the management, it probably would be what you just said there, because that's been.
We've been better in the Champions League in our lifetimes.
And our history. I mean, our history with domestic cups isn't bad either, but our history with Europe is so. It's a love affair, isn't it?
We won those European Cups. The first four.
Because we were champions.
Because we were champions and being so good. They were the thing that came as a result of being the best team in England, whereas the change to the Champions League format has meant that you can be the best team in Europe in a season, but not the best team in your own country, which is so frustrating about 18-19, and it still does my head in that I think that is the best team that the Premier League has ever seen, and it will never be perceived as such because of like millimetres or a Vincent Kompany goal or whatever. Imi Adam says, guys, I'm in the Kop on Sunday. Any ideas how to get my wheelchair over the barriers for the pitch invasion? Paul, Chris, Chloe, any chance of a boost? Yeah, Imi, if someone's around, I'm sure someone will be willing
just to attach a couple of flares to the wheels.
Yeah. Rocket propelled, mate, and get it on there. Class. Right, short break from us. When we return, we're going to be discussing Trent's goal celebrations. What does it all mean? See you in a sec.
Hey everyone, a new month means just one thing. It means a new prize if you are a Legend subscriber on Redmen Plus. That's right, if you're already existing as a Legend, you're already in the hat, but there's still time to get over there and get involved. And not only Discord access, not only all the boss content, you will also be in the hat for an incredible prize this month. It's this signed retro Liverpool shirt, signed by the brilliant Skippy, Craig Johnson himself, the inventor of the Predator, midfield extraordinaire, never stop running. What a fella, what a story, and what a signature, by the way, as well. Get over to Redmen Plus, sign up as a Legend yearly or monthly, and you will get all the brilliant stuff that we do here, as well as a chance of winning that incredible piece of memorabilia. Take it easy.
Hey, welcome back. Chris Pajak has just ducked out for a minute because, you know, middle age is a tough old thing to deal with. Yes, Trent Alexander-Arnold scored a goal. You all right there, Chloe?
Yeah, I was just looking at the Trent Alexander-Arnold goal.
So sad.
I was trying to figure out who put the shirt because I couldn't see a thing.
Have you figured it out?
Apparently it's Costas, but I still can't see it.
So Costas just hung it up neatly for him to create one of the most iconic Premier League photos of all time.
And everyone then read into it that was him like hanging up. A whole thing.
Right,
a whole thing.
Like all I saw was like Bleacher Report have just got their next graphic made where it's him doing the look over the shoulder and he's walking towards the Real Madrid shit. That's just going. Someone's going to make that, aren't they, at some point in the not too distant future?
He had to be told where it was, didn't he? Did you say? He was like looking around.
He launched it by like the post. He only cleared the goal when it came off, and he threw it like over his head. So someone's got it, brought it to the party, and neatly hung it up for him, which is teamwork.
With like. Facing the crowd as well of Trent Alexander-Arnold 6'6". That's it's unreal.
Go on. If we had to interpret, come on, get it. Don't just be quick. This is not the quickest way to get yourself back in.
What's going on?
It's not the most elegant either.
Can you see us? If you just saw his ball patch go past the little gap in the screen,
could have been worse, by the way.
Yeah. That wasn't the top of his head. That was a bum cheek we saw there. Chloe, you were in the ground.
Yes.
Did you have any thoughts or interpretations of it at the time, or were you too lost in it all?
I was too lost in it all. Like I said, I was just trying not to die, to be perfectly honest. And just, I've been to many games with many let-offs and incredible scenes, but I've never heard a let-off like that in terms of silence to absolute euphoria. It was incredible, and like I said there, it's mad because Liverpool could have walked away with losing that game or drawing that game, and at some point they'd have won the league, but it just felt absolutely huge, and I think it's because it's setting it up at Anfield. No one wanted to go and do it against Chelsea at Stamford Bridge. Nope. Everyone wants to do it at home with as many Liverpool fans there as possible. And
Chloe, I've made you not talk about Trent and his celebration and what it means for the first fucking hour and 15 minutes of the show, and now you're talking about the game, for God's sake.
Sorry, it was really good. Can I talk about him coming on the pitch then? Because that's what I was shocked at the most. We saw him warming up and getting ready to come on, and at no point did I expect him to receive the reception that he got. What
was the reception?
The reception was several boos were building up, and then when he steps on the pitch there's quite a lot of boos with people trying to clap, other people trying to clap to try and drown it out. I did not expect it to be like that.
What did you expect it to be?
I don't know, just maybe a bit for me personally, I was never going to boo him, but I was also never going to sit there and proper sing his name or anything like that. No, because if he does leave the club, I still don't agree with that. I was just expecting, a clap and, well, come on then, let's go and win the game. And when he came on, people tried to sing his name, and other people, like, there was fights in the away end because some people were telling other people off for singing his name and singing the song. And then he got the ball a couple of times, and there's just pockets of people booing him, and there's other people turning around saying, get behind him. And I think I just knew the moment that he got booed when the ball arrived at his feet that, yeah, he's going to score at some point in this game, because you just felt it. Yeah. And I mentioned it, we had so many corners, and I actually felt like the corner deliveries were brilliant in the game, but we weren't getting on the end of it or winning the second bounce. And a ball bounces to the correct lad, the lad who you arguably want over the ball in those situations. He doesn't lean back, he leans over it, gets it on target, it's got too much power, it comes through too many bodies for the keeper to do anything. And yet, like you said, it was absolute bedlam. And I don't know what to take from the celebration, because surely it's just raw emotion of you winning a game for your boyhood club and taking your team a step closer to winning the league. I won't read anything more into it than that. But yeah, it was just an absolutely incredible moment. And yeah, at full time, by the way, you could see he was a bit timid to come over to the crowd.
So Virgil pushed him towards the Liverpool fans. What's the response then? The
response then is absolute. Everybody on the feet, screaming, more like, you know what happens when Virgil comes over the cop? It's more that. It's like, can come on, we're about to win this league. And then when he goes over for the interview, that is when the entire away end sing his name and sing his song. So yeah, it was a little bit all over the place, and I just wasn't expecting it. And I'll be interested to see what happens come Sunday, because, you know, he'll want to start that game. Whether he will or not's a different question, but you can imagine that he will feature. How will Anfield react to him?
Well, I mean, that's the thing. Did we see the post-match interview with him? Anyone?
Yeah,
Dan?
for like a long time. It was a difficult watch, I thought, at times, to be honest. I really did, because you could just tell he wasn't particularly comfortable with the question.
He looked made up to be asked about the football.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, because that's what he wants to talk about. That's a much happier point of conversation for him to be having. Yeah, I did watch it. Like I said, I didn't find it particularly pleasant watching. It's interesting because I actually got lost in the euphoria and the pandemonium at the moment a little bit, and clearly he did. You mentioned there the raw emotion and the pent-up emotions, because he's been out for a while and he comes on back into the fray, of course, and obviously gets that moment, and potentially a parting gift of a moment. Let's have it right. It might be the last fairy tale moment he has in Liverpool shirt, so he's going to enjoy every single second of it. But I did start believing, what if there was this sort of massive U-turn, because it clearly meant so much to him. What if in that moment he decided, you know what, this is where I belong? But then you watch the interview and he kind of, not unravels all of that, but you get a reality check, let's put it that way, when he gets asked, and it's just the same message. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it.
Oh.
I've said
is that you asked telling Chloe, or is that what he said?
And that was his stock answer. And every single time he has, and there's been like a handful, if that, where he was addressed the contract situation, the looming contract situation, he's just gone, I've said all season long, we're not doing it. And that was that, really. And it's tough.
I think that Sky said we won Trent Alexander-Arnold, but we won't ask him the question.
Well, they asked him the question.
Oh, did they? I didn't see that bit.
Yeah.
No, they asked him, fully asked him, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Which is when his eyes kind of went, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
But I think he actually started the question by saying, I've got to ask.
Yeah.
And then straight away Trent knew.
See, I thought they would have mentioned, you know, the mixed reaction of it, because once again, I didn't think anyone could tell on the commentary. And like I said, it was a real mix. It wasn't like the entire away end booed him. The entire away end pretty much at the end sang his name. But it was like I was a little bit taken back with just how many people had booed. Yeah. And like I said there, I wouldn't boo the lad. He still is in a red shirt, but I most definitely wasn't going out my way and proper singing his name and everything.
It's such an interesting situation, and it's a shit situation, and it's a one that him and his people have engineered. So let's be clear on all this, by the way, because we've said this all season long. You couldn't. All you had to do, don't even say I'm not talking about it. Just say I'll address it at the end of the season. You said this months ago, Chris. You know, but the saying I'm not talking about it. And I've seen a lot of people saying, if you knew you were staying, you'd stay. And the contract negotiations are live, ongoing things. If there's nothing definitive to say, then you weaken your hand, or you might not be allowed to mention the Real Madrid stuff in some way, or he might not want to because he doesn't want basically everyone to boo every touch for the remainder of the season, whether that's right or wrong. But the whole thing is just, you know, you always got a good sense from Virgil when he was mentioning it, you know, to say, like, he was saying, I'm not talking about it. He's just saying, it's cool. You know, there's people talking about these things. Yeah. Salah's come out very publicly a number of times and said he really wanted to do. Trent's taken a different approach. You know, and the lack of information is being filled with the Real Madrid stuff. And that's why that seems so likely to happen. In terms of how to feel about it, it's weird because, I think boo him when if you want to boo him when he enters the pitch, sure, because that's a moment, you know, to say you can hear us, mate. This is what we think of it. I think you're right to celebrate what he does on the pitch when he does it, because he's playing for Liverpool, and right now he's a Liverpool player. Until he's not, he's got opportunities to win football matches for us. And this sounds so stupid that I spoke to you about this yesterday. It is a bit like not putting a kiss on the end of a tweet when you're angry with someone, as I found out from an ex-girlfriend once. I don't think we should be singing his song. I think we can cheer him. I think you can clap him. But I think almost the problem with that is that if you give him that, I worry for a bit of like, well done, mate, off you go. Like, we're cheering him on his way, and I don't think we should be cheering him on his way. I think we can applaud him for everything he's done, but I don't think you should be getting rewarded by having your name sung anymore. I don't know whether anyone else agrees or disagrees.
It's an interesting one, and I'm with Chloe. I definitely wouldn't boo him, but I wouldn't cheer him coming on either. I'd probably just be silent when he comes on the pitch. I'm absolutely going to celebrate Liverpool scoring because it's irrelevant to me who scores the goal. Liverpool have taken the lead or whatever.
The badge on the front, not the name on the back.
Exactly. So I think that for me is sound. I mean, everybody knows I've stopped singing the Nunes chant when he misses his chance. I did that 18 months ago because I was annoyed that he can't finish his dinner all the time. And if he scores, I'm going to celebrate it and I'm going to sing his name because he scored a goal. But for missing stuff, I'm not going to. So Trent, my anger is kind of dissipated. Like that's happened now. That's in the past. It's been compartmentalised, and we're just moving forward. I've convinced myself, rightly or wrongly, that Liverpool are going to be sound next season without Trent Alexander-Arnold, and that Liverpool are going to use the money to better the squad to be better than they are today. Trent's legacy, that's a different thing. I don't know how I'm going to feel until I see him in a Real Madrid shirt. And that's the God's honest truth on the matter. When I see him, and if I see him line up against Liverpool in a Real Madrid shirt, that is when my heart is going to tell me exactly how I feel about that person and what he's done for this club, or what he did for this club, and what he's doing now. So I'll leave that for the future, and I'm fine with that. And I think you are right. I do think the captain speaking out this week, saying about how important it is for when his song is sung and how it makes him feel, that leads into what you're saying of, you know what, it's fine. If Trent does something great, give it a Liverpool chance. Over and over and over again. And I think that's actually what happened yesterday a lot of the time.
When he came on,
Liverpool stuff.
It was, when it came on, it was more singing Liverpool than it was singing Trent. Trent, like I said, when he first came on, there was a fair amount of abuse, there was a fair amount of clapping, and then there was kind of a response for those who felt like, why he's booing him, we'll start singing his song, which then loads of people turned around and looked at each other and was like, what the bloody hell are you doing? Like, he's literally binning us off for Real Madrid in the summer, which caused like just some rumblings in the away crowd, which is not what you need when you're literally one win away from winning the league title. But yeah, like I said, his name wasn't sung until he was pushed in front of us by Virgil van Dijk. That was when his name was sung. Like, after his goal, his name's not sung. We sing Liverpool things, but when Virgil pushed him in front of us and he gives it this, that's when everyone rises, and then his song gets sung as he's dragged away to do the interview. But yeah, it's a very weird feeling, because you absolutely want to continue to adore this lad, but at the same time, I don't want to sit there and sing a song about a lad who's going to go to Real Madrid and choose not to stay with his boyhood club.
I've forever got in my mind that Everton doing a guard of honour to clap David Moyes off to Man United. I think they played Man United in that game as well. Like, it was like, you know, like, here you, thanks for everything, boss. Here you go. And it's like, it's almost like sets your place in the pecking order for me. You know, if you are publicly,
I mean, they set their place.
Well, yeah, God, I know, but there's a difference. There's like fake it to make it. You know what I mean? In their instance, but I don't know. It tells the world that we shouldn't be happy that players want to go and play for Real Madrid, because that player is basically, whether he means to or not, is saying that Real Madrid are a bigger football club than Liverpool. And I don't think he intends it to be that way, but that is the reality of those situations. So I worry a little bit for us being a bit like, oh, well done, Trent, off you go and have a brilliant time. You know, as much as I've sat on the show and said, my heart not against Scousers doing well for themselves. You know, if that's the thing that helps him become a legendary footballer, as a Scouser, I can appreciate that. But as a Liverpool fan, I want Liverpool to be a bigger club than Real Madrid. So our better players going to that football club is the opposite of that happening.
100%. And I don't particularly take exception to people who do choose to sing the song, because this in particular is divided opinion amongst the fan base. And obviously we're going to see that now as he comes back into the fold. It says behind you that Liverpool, the cream of Europe, and that's what we believe. Yeah. And what you're saying there is absolutely spot on. No amount of European Cups Real Madrid have in their cabinet will tell us otherwise. We believe we are the absolute pinnacle. So therefore, especially if you are a local lad who's come through the academy and been here forever, and it's been your dream to follow in the footsteps of Gerrard, etc., that is it. You've done it then. So stay. There's no reason for you not to. So for somebody to choose a different path, a different route, whatever you think of it, whatever you want to have a conversation around it about, that isn't fine by us. That isn't the way this was supposed to go. It wasn't the way his career was supposed to pan out. So, yeah, you're absolutely spot on. And again, From our point of view, we absolutely adore to be in his shoes and to have done what he's done so far. So it's hard to get our head around him choosing anything different.
It's also hard when, you know, he comes out and he says, my goal is to be Liverpool captain, and then you're several years away from being Liverpool captain. Virgil van Dijk is in the end of his career, really, when you think about it. Like, that is your role to take. You're now vice captain already. You're a massive part of the squad. So coming out and saying that, and then in recent, months and things, talking about the Ballon d'Or being the biggest thing, and can you win that being a right back at Liverpool? You're not sure. It leaves a little bit of a bitter taste for everyone. But like I said, I won't boo him until he chooses to leave and he comes back and he's wearing a colour that is not red of Liverpool. But at the same time, I don't want to sit there, and if he gets a Guard of Honour or whatever on the last game of the season, I won't be sitting there singing his name, because once again, if you're leaving us for Real Madrid, you are just telling me that you think that project's better, that you think that club is bigger and better to play for, which as a Scouser, I just don't, as a Liverpool fan, I don't think that should ever be the case. And it also, when you've had superstars like Virgil van Dijk and Mo Salah re-sign contracts and basically say, we believe in Slot, in the way the club's going, it was always Liverpool, my family, all of that, when they give you the spiel that you want to hear, then having a Scouser go elsewhere, it kills you inside.
It is really interesting that, because I think that's quite an interesting point, that Mo and Virg have become more settled in the city because they're a bit older and they've got the kids and that kind of stuff. They've actually probably got a greater affinity with that, with Trent still being a young man who doesn't, even though he's from here, he's weirdly almost now got less roots here in that regard, less kind of holding him in place. The one thing that gets me, there's a little shit about it, is I think it puts to bed the notion of local fans of football teams. I think it exposes it in a way that I'd never really considered before, because I don't really think, I'm not saying he's not a Liverpool fan, but I think how we perceive what is a fan and what's that mean. I got given my first Liverpool kit at 6 years old, and my dad was a Liverpool fan and my uncle was, and all that. But and I grew into that fandom. But I think he probably had a similar thing where he maybe had a Liverpool shirt before he was at the academy, maybe. But if he's at the academy from 6 years old, is he a fan, or is it his preferred team and he's just a very loyal employee over that? He's definitely not an Everton fan. If you had to pick a football club, it would be Liverpool. But I think we think of football fandom as being one thing. Like, because he's a Liverpool fan, he must be a Liverpool fan the way that we're all Liverpool fans. And I don't think anyone can really be that if you've been through that.
He wasn't home and away, was he? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, I've not really thought about it like that, to be honest with you.
And that's a bit of a fucking horrible thing. I don't like thinking about that. I don't like questioning whether someone's
loyalties are all
because it's a very.
It's funny though, because you raise a really good point in that, like, Harvey Elliott was a Liverpool fan. Yeah. He never came through the academy, but for a fact that he was a Liverpool fan.
But from afar, so maybe that's to your point. Yeah. That meant he was an out-and-out fan, whereas Trent just so happened to be a Red, but playing for the club already, you know what I mean? It was odd. Yeah, it's a good point.
Yeah, interesting thought. Just to end us on an upbeat note, Virgil van Dijk signed his contract. I'm gutted the whole time of all of this, to be honest, because I am glad in some regards, Chris, that he got his moment. They could quite easily have just announced him and Salah at the same time, but I think it would have probably trampled on Virgil because Mo's such the global superstar. So actually, he had to wait and he had to keep his powder dry a few more days longer.
Did he keep his powder dry?
Yeah.
I know.
It was damn powder. But I'm made up that he got his own videos. Again, they could have shot it all at Anfield in one go. They could have just put him on the throne. Everyone would have gone, doing like the art gallery thing and all that. I'm glad he's got his separate.
No, he deserves it, because him and Alisson, when they came in, they were the ones who really, I think, changed the trajectory of this football club. And he surprised me even over the last 2 years, Virgil, in his ability to lead as a captain. And lead the club. It's not just him, is it? Like, you see him now, even this week, talking about wear red. Now, I know the whole away end didn't wear red, but there was a lot more red in the away end than I saw. And I know from lots of people that I've spoken to over the course of the last week, there's a lot of people who've messaged me and gone, have you got any red tops on Redmen? I'm like, yeah, here you go, and look in this direction. So he is actually impacting all of us, and he's leading us, because it's all, in some ways, he's kind of filling a void that we've had since Jürgen's gone. Because Jürgen would lead us as a fan base by talking to us and telling us how he thinks we maybe should feel, or, you know, holding the mirror up to ourselves so that we understand exactly how we feel. And Jürgen's kind of stepped into that void as well, Chosia. He's much more than I ever thought he would be when he was given the captain's armband, so he definitely deserves that moment.
Also, just quickly, I was on press box and they were talking about that because it was the day he was announced. He did not know about the gallery. He didn't have a clue that was happening. He was quite taken back by it, and also they were speaking about it, and everything that he said was written by him. He came to Liverpool saying, I want to wear this for it, and these are what I want to say. Liverpool usually, like, they were like so different. Usually we kind of compromise and this would be good if you could say that and things, where Virg went down with a speech saying, I want to wear this top specifically, and he didn't know about the gallery as well. So everything that he said was from him and brilliant. Written from him, and his tagline, it was always Liverpool, was very much him coming to the club and saying, this is what I want to say.
He's been sensational, hasn't he? Let's be honest. Transformational signing. But, like, model captain ever since, like, even the weekend, the Trent thing, like, whatever you think about the Trent situation and how he's received from the away, him pushing Trent forward, even that small thing is his captaincy again comes to the fore.
He wants Trent to stay.
Of course he does, yeah.
He absolutely wants Trent to stay, and I think we've heard little rumblings throughout the year that I think he's been a bit annoyed by how it's been handled and what have you. And I do wonder whether that was Virg, pure Virg, and very Klopp-like in that regard, of going, you're going to leave? Fuck you, mate. Go and have a bit of this and see how this makes you feel. Yeah. Oh, the fans are all cheering for you. Interesting. Even though they shouldn't be, mate, they're still there behind you. I wonder whether, if you have a bad time at Real Madrid, are they going to be so open-armed in welcoming you back in?
Pretty unforgiving over there, like press and fans alike, I reckon.
Yeah, so lovely moment for Virg, and I think we're all absolutely made up to see him going to be a Liverpool player for another 2 years. Brilliant piece of work from Liverpool to get that over the line. Finally. Right.
Let's get over the line this weekend, please. Right?
In the Premier League, that would be great.
Thank you.
Yes,
so much.
If you are in Dublin, there is a chance that Liverpool will be confirmed as Premier League champions on Wednesday night with Arsenal playing Crystal Palace. If you want to come and party with us in Dublin, we're at the Ambassador. Tickets are available on ticketmaster.ie for that. And then Friday, we're in Cork. Never been to Cork before. Cannot wait to party in Cork. Because
some corks in Cork.
Yeah, honestly, there'll be corks popping left, right, and centre. Tickets on ticketmaster.ie. Do check out the redweekender.com. And if you want more from us right now, we're going to talk about a football player who hasn't had his contract renewed and is very not happy about that. His name is Kevin De Bruyne. He's a big red. I don't know if you've heard, but yeah, we're going to be doing that on the Bias Football Pod. If you want to get a half price deal on a year of redmenplus.com, head over there, choose a Captain Yearly subscription, and use the code POD. POD, fill your boots, because Liverpool are going to win the league, and this time next year we're probably going to win it again, and possibly the Champions League as well, and you'll be subscribed for that whole period. See us over there.